All right, so let's start off first. One second, guys. So, the music will stop in the background eventually, right? So sorry about that. Okay, guys, so the first thing I need you to do, we're going to review some special graphs first before we move on. I need for everyone to draw X and a Y axis, right? You don't need graph paper, right? Like I said, this is your Y axis here, and this is your X axis. On the x-axis, it's going from -2 to +4, and on the y-axis, it's going from 3 to -2. Take a few seconds, and of course, let me know in the chat when you're finished drawing a quick sketch of that graph. Let me explain what transformations is about. Transformations is when you have an object on graph paper and you want to make it look different. For example, you can have an object that is small and do some calculations and make it larger. But to do the topic, we need to know some special graphs offhand, right? In the exam, if they ask you to draw this graph, look at part A. The first graph is x is equal to 2. Now, here's the thing. Usually in class or when you're in school and they ask you to draw a graph, you normally have to do a bunch of calculations. However, you notice this graph, this equation is very, very simple. It only has one letter, which in today's question is x, and it's equal to 2. To draw this type of graph, no calculation is needed. The graph x equal to 2 is just a vertical line going through 2 on the x-axis. So look at it, it's going to appear on the screen now. I'm going to click on it. You all see there? The graph x equal to 2 is a vertical line going through what on the x-axis? 2. I know the line covered the number, but the 2 is supposed to be there. Everyone draw that in on their sketch and label it. X equal to 2 is a vertical line going through 2 on the x-axis. No calculations needed, and you get one measly mark for that in the exam. Do you think you all could do part B for me? If the examiner asks you to draw the graph, x is equal to -1 instead. So if you think you can do it, go ahead and do it on your sketch. For those who now join, you do not need graph paper. You're just doing what? A rough sketch in your notebooks using a ruler and a pencil. We're trying to move as fast as we can. Right? So I'll give you all a few seconds for part B. Right? Of course, I realize a lot of people are telling me that they're finished. That's good. I like to know when people are finished as well. Right? It gives me a gauge of how fast I can move in class. All right, so let's see if you all have it here. X equal to -1. How much of you all had that blue line now? X is equal to -1 was a vertical line going through -1. Great. And guess what? Like I said, there's only one measly mark you're going to get for that in the exam, but a mark is a mark, right? Right. If you got it wrong, at least let me know on the chat. Hey, I understood my mistake. And of course, take down the correcting. Everybody's going to make mistakes today, right? The most important thing is that you understand your mistake and you learn from it. Nobody gets maths on the first try. Nobody. Okay? Right. So let's try the other one now. So the next one is, look at part C, guys. Y is equal to 3. Now look at the note here, right? The yellow note says that if x is equal to a number and it's only the letter x, it's a vertical line. So look at the green note now. The green note says that if it's y is equal to something, it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be a horizontal line. So let me draw part C for you guys. I'm going to click on it. Look at it, guys. Look at the green line. You all notice y equals to 3 is a horizontal line going through what? 3. Right? And I want you all to quickly try part D, and let's see if you get that correct. Y is equal to -2. Let me know when you are finished, right? I'm going to click on the answer. How much of you had that pink line? Look at it. It's a horizontal line going through -2, right? And just making sure you all see the writing I'm doing on the board. Like I'm going to write something here now. Y is equal to -2. Are you all seeing the writing? Great. You know, sometimes you just have little errors with you know, minor errors with Zoom and whatnot. All right, so that's pretty simple. And throughout today, you all are going to be asked to draw simple lines like these. X is equal to 2, Y is equal to 3. But of course, it's your job to remember if it's a vertical line or if it's what? A horizontal line. Of course, under pressure in the exam, it's so easy to forget. All right, so let's move on to the next slide, right? For those of you all who now came in, I'm recording the entire class. So if you miss anything, the recording will be available tomorrow. So let's move on. Let's follow the little story here. All right, so we have some other special graphs to learn to draw, right? The next special graph that we have to know how to draw without any major calculations is y is equal to x. It seems very simple, right? The graph y equals to x will look like this. Let me show you on the screen here. You all see it's a kind of slanted line, a kind of diagonal line. Let me explain why this is the line y is equal to x. Y equal to x means at any point on that graph, the x and the y values are the same. Let me prove that to you. If I take this point on the line, you all know the vertical one is the y-axis and the horizontal one is the x-axis. You all notice over here, x is 1 and y is 1. So x and y have the same value. Let's take another point on the graph. This point here. At this point, x is equal to 2 and y is equal to 2. So x and y are equal. And you can do this at any point on the graph, and you will notice that y and x have the same value. Now the graph y equals to -x, which is this guy here, is the opposite. Let me show you that graph. That's the blue graph, okay? So if you look at the blue graph, you will notice that it slants the other way. Y equals to -x means that y and x have opposite values. And I can prove it to you. Let me take a point on the blue graph. Look at this point here. Isn't x -1? But how much is the y value? +1. You all notice x and y have opposite values. Let's take another point. If we take this point here on the graph, you all notice x is 2 and y is -2. So x and y have completely opposite values. I need for you all to draw this graph, and I say, just do a quick sketch and take down the yellow note and the green note and let me know when you are finished, right? The only time the graph has the same values is at the center, because at the center, x is 0 and y is 0. But here's the thing in maths, there's no opposite of 0 really. because 0 is neither positive nor negative. Okay? Right, so you just need to draw the graph for the time being, right? And for those who are taking it down, I'm just going to pause the video and just explain it back. All right, so I see Bridget, not Bridget, the Judith here has given us a little task here to find who killed her. All right, so we're gonna move on now, right? The next thing we need to know, remember the first step of doing transformations is to learn off the special graphs, okay? The next thing we need to know is how to multiply matrices properly. For those of you all who never did matrices, don't get scared. Matrices is a huge topic. I'm only going to teach you the small part that you need in order to do transformations. When we're multiplying matrices today, right, this is what you're going to bounce up. You're going to bounce up a pair of brackets with 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers, and a pair of brackets with only 2 numbers. We are going to multiply these 2 brackets. You don't have to worry about what the numbers represent as yet. That will make sense later on. What you need to know is that when you take a matrix, one with 4 numbers and multiply it by one with 2 numbers, you're going to get 2 numbers here. I'm going to show you how to find those 2 numbers. Everyone, write down this question and do not write it small. You're going to have to put working inside of it. Right? So take it down. We have 3 examples to do on this. The only thing you really need to know is how to multiply and add and subtract positive and negative numbers, which will not be covered today, as that's a Form 1 topic. You all ready on how to multiply these 2 matrices? Let me know when you're ready. Right. Great. Right. Now, like I said, we have 3 examples. So if you don't catch it on the first run, be patient. You will catch it. So here's what you need to do when you are multiplying matrices. I need for everyone to pay attention to the smaller matrix. That's this guy here, the one with the 2 values. There's a value on top and there's a value underneath. I want you all to circle the value underneath. Always the value underneath in the smaller brackets. Circle it for me. Do me a favor, circle that for me. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to pretend that this number swings up to the top here, like Batman. So it swings up to the top here. So how much numbers we have here now? 2 numbers. You're going to pretend that these 2 numbers, these 2 values, they grow legs and they're going to walk across. So pretend they're marching across. They're walking, they're walking, they're walking. The -1 will be over the 6 and the 3 will be over the -3. You're keeping the same order. Everyone do that for me. So the -1 and 3 walk to the left until they are above the 6 and the -3. The -1 and 3, I want you to photocopy it underneath here as well. So the -1 and 3 in pink get photocopied across the underneath section as well. Here's what you're going to do now. You see each pair of number. Remember, you have pairs here, right? We're going to multiply each pair. So we multiply each pair of numbers. Minus 1 multiplied by 6 is minus 6. 3 multiplied by minus 3 is minus 9. 2 multiplied by minus 1 is minus 2. And well, everyone knows 5 by 3 is normal, boring, 15. If you are having problems with positive and negative numbers, like how to add, subtract, multiply, or divide, don't worry. At the end of class, I have some videos that will refresh your memory from the Form 1 or Form 2 work. Right. So remember, we're trying to get two answers, one on top and one underneath. To get the value or answer on top, you have to add the two values on top. Minus 6 plus minus 9. Remember, a plus and a minus is a minus. So you end up with minus 6 minus 9, which is minus 15. You can always use your calculator to do the addition and subtraction or multiplication if you're having problems with signs. And to get the answer underneath, we add the two values underneath, the two final values underneath. Minus 2 plus 15 is positive 13. Right? We're going to do another example just now. Don't worry, guys. Remember, when it comes to like calculations, I always do more than one examples. So take down this example and we'll be moving on to the next example in 1 minute. All right, everyone take down this second question and we're going to do it together. For those of you all who feel a little confident that you can do it, you go ahead. For those who are still, trying to figure it out, wait on me. Alia, yes, you always, always, always have to add after the multiplication. And I'm going to stress on that in the next example. All right, so quick question. When you have to multiply this scenario, where do you look first? Do you look in the big brackets or the small brackets? Which one do you look at first? The small brackets, great. And when you're looking in the small brackets, you always look at the number underneath, which is minus 3. So everyone circle the minus 3 once again. Whatever value we have here, let it swing up to the top. So now we have two numbers here, minus 1 and minus 3. Pretend that the two values walk to the left. So they begin marching. And one will end up, minus 1 will end up here, and the minus 3 will end up after. Write that in above the values. The two values in pink, photocopy them underneath here as well. Let's say make a photocopy underneath. Each pair, you all are going to multiply each pair. Like I said, if you're not familiar with positive and negative numbers, I'm not going to be answering any questions on how to add and subtract and multiply and divide positive and negative numbers today. If you have problems, use the calculator and we'll sort it out later. Multiply, 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 multiply. Minus 1 multiplied by minus 3 is positive 3. You can choose to put the positive sign here or not. Minus 3 multiplied by minus 1 is another positive 3 because we multiply. 0 multiplied by anything in the world is 0. 2 multiplied by minus 3, a positive multiplied by a negative is a negative. Right? Great. To get the answer on top, You see the two values on top? You always have to add it. So you have to put an addition sign. That's your job now, to go and put that addition sign in between the two final top values. Let's add it. 3, well, everyone could do that, right? 3 plus 3 is 6. We have to do the same thing for the underneath. To get the final value for the underneath, we have to add the two numbers underneath. So we put in our own addition sign. It just so happens when a positive touches a minus, you get a minus. So ultimately, a positive and a minus, when they touch, they give you a minus. So 0 minus 6 is minus 6. All right, so everyone take down those answers. Right, I want you all to try this one on your own. Obviously, I'm going to come in afterwards and work it out. Just pay attention to your signs. And if you get it wrong, don't be too hard on yourself. You'll have plenty more practice after. Let me send your answers on the screen, on the chat, by the way. So we're looking at the smaller pair of brackets. In the smaller pair of brackets, we're looking at the number underneath. It just so happens that the smaller number today is 7. He swings up to the top. So it have two values on top now, minus 8 and 7. They walk across. The minus 8 ends up here. The 7 ends up here. The two blue values, we photocopy them underneath here as well. And we are going to multiply each pair. So let's multiply. Minus 8 multiplied by minus 1 is positive 8. When you multiply 2 minus, you get a positive. You can put the positive here if you wish. 7 multiplied by 0. Now, this is where a lot of people made mistakes. Anything multiplied by 0 is 0. Too much people put 7 here, right? And a lot of Form 5s make that mistake, right? Just keep reminding yourself, anything multiplied by 0 is 0. 0 multiplied by 8 is 0. 1 multiplied by 7 is 7. To get the answer on top, we add the two values on top. You have to put in this add sign. 8 plus 0 is 8. Anyone can do that. The underneath, we add it also. 0 plus 7 is 7. For those who got 15 on top by mistake, I hope that you saw the error. You're supposed to get two answers, a top answer and an underneath answer. All right, if you got it wrong, like I said, don't be hard on yourself. I'm sure it's a very small error. Okay, don't beat yourself up about it. All right, so take a 20 seconds, take down what you need to take down. So to answer the question, what does the 8 and 7 represent? On graph, right now, I have to assume that you all know a little bit about graphs, right? You all know a graph has a y-axis and a x-axis. And everyone by now, because you're going to Form 4, Form 5, has at least been able to plot points on graph paper. So if you have a point, right? You know, if over here is 3 on the x-axis and over here is like 11 on the y-axis, all points have an x value and a y value. For example, this point is 3, 11. The first value is the x coordinate. The second value is the y coordinate. In matrices, the top value represents the x coordinate and the underneath value just represents the y coordinate. In other words, this is the point 8, 7. The x goes first, the y goes second. That is all it means. And I'm going to be repeating that over and over and over. No need to make a note on that. So let's see if there's another example. I'm really not too sure. No, there isn't another example, but there will be plenty more practice afterwards. So let's continue the story here. Right, so Judith says she was killed in a cemetery. So maybe you should go to the cemetery and look for clues. All right, so here's what I need for you all to do. You see everything on the screen here? I need you to take it down. It looks scary because I haven't explained it as yet. Take it down. Do not screenshot it. Get in the habit of writing things down when I ask you to do it, because when you write certain things down, it sticks in your memory better, right? And I will explain what these funny looking symbols mean, the cos and the sine and whatnot. All right? Right? So let me know when you're finished. All right, so let me answer the number one question that's on your minds regarding this graphic in front of you. When you go into the CXC exam, most of you all know that there's a formula sheet. So the examiner is be kind of nice to you all and give you all a formula sheet. Do you think these formulas will be on the formula sheet? What do you all think on the chat? Nikane, correct. Right. I see there was one hopeful person who said yes. The answer is no. These formulas that you see in front of you are not on the formula sheet. So you could imagine the headache that it causes in the exam. And to make matters even worse, look at these values here. Look at these matrices here. You all can agree that they all almost look the same. Look at the reflection in the x-axis versus the reflection in the y-axis. It's the same exact values, except the -1 is in a different position. This is the only advice I have for you all. Do as many as practice questions as you can do, so these formulas can stick in your head. Let me give you a story. For my CXC exam, I did not learn the formulas because I was a slacker in school. And the day of the exam, I tried to cram down the formulas. It did not stick in my head, but I was lucky that the topic didn't come that year, so I got away. You all may not have the same luck as I did. Okay, so it takes a lot of practice to get this in your memory. So let's start the practice one time. Okay, so we head to the cemetery. Let's see what's going on here at the cemetery. All right, so a little skeleton head up here is there. Hopefully he'll be able to help you. All right, so here's your first question. You don't have to draw this. All I need you to do is work out things on your end and send the answers. Do not draw right now, because if you start to draw now, we're never going to finish class. So on the screen, you all see a triangle. And here's what we want to do. Look at the instructions here. We want to reflect this about the x-axis. This here is the x-axis, the horizontal line. Now, whenever you hear the word reflection, think of a mirror. I think everyone here has used a mirror at one point in their life. How does a mirror show your image? Doesn't it make everything look kind of reversed? In a mirror, your right hand does look like your left hand. And of course, your left hand does look like what? Your right hand. There are actually two ways to do this question. If they are asking you to reflect it on the x-axis, you have to pretend the x-axis is a mirror. If you are 1 meter away from a mirror, inside the mirror, you also look like you are 1 meter inside the mirror. Okay? So let's look at point A. If you have point A here, and the value is 4, 2, and it is 4, 2, 4 on the X and 2 on the Y. If this gets reflected, won't it be the same distance on the other side of the mirror? Won't it get reflected on the other side? Look at this distance and this distance. It's the same. So what would be the coordinates of A dash? Let's rename as A prime. Anybody want to send the values of the coordinates of A prime? It's right. It's 4. And when we go down, it's -2. 4 minus 2. And it's kind of hard to write. I have a faulty pen here. You think you all could do B for me? If B gets reflected on the other side of the x-axis. So B is here, it gets reflected on the other side. A lot of people are sending the answer. So B prime, which is a lot of teachers, including myself, call it B dash, is 8 minus 2. Look at it, 8, and we're going down to -2. And let's try C quickly. What would be the value of C if it gets reflected? It's 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks away from the mirror. So on the other side, it should be 1, 2, 3, 4. It should end up down here. And you're going to get 8 minus 8. Look at it. -8 on the Y, +8 on the X. And I'm going to keep reminding you all, you have to state the X coordinate first and the Y coordinate second. If you're having problems with graphs, no problem. I have a video on that too. Okay. So when you connect this up, you'll notice that the triangle looks kind of upside down, which is how mirrors work. Because if there's a pond and you look into a pond by stooping down, right, and pushing your head out, you kind of look the opposite in the reflection in the pond. You see the method that we just used? This is called the common sense method. You'll notice we didn't do any major calculations. We just use a little bit of common sense using experiences from everyday life. Tell me something. Does the yellow note make any sense? Read the note and tell me if that matches up with what we just did. It says, notice that the X coordinates remain the same, but the Y coordinates take the opposite sign. And I think so too. Look at it here. For point A, the X coordinate remains 4, but the Y coordinate becomes -2. The signs became the opposite. So whenever you are reflecting something in the X axis, the X coordinates remain the same, but the Y coordinates will become the opposite. So if the Y coordinate was 3, the Y coordinate would change to -3. If the Y coordinate was -5, and that's saying if, it would change to what? +5. But the X coordinate remains the same. All right, so here's the note I need you to take down. Take down this thing in, take down reflection about the X-axis, and take down the yellow note. There's no need to draw the diagram or graph right now, unless you really want to, but you only have about a minute. And yes, whenever you're doing these questions, you can certainly pretend the X-axis is a mirror. So let's move on. I have to move on now. So we did the reflection in the X-axis. I'm sure you all want a practice question here, right? Let me just make sure there's some. Right. So here's what we're going to do. Remember, this same question, we just did it, right? We reflected it in the X-axis and we got our answer. But we did it using common sense. Now, suppose in the exam, or suppose you go back in school and the examiner or your teacher says they want you to do this using a calculation method. But you have no choice but to follow the instructions. So since it's a reflection in the x-axis, you'll remember this formula I gave you a few minutes ago. You have to memorize this. So if they ask you to do a reflection in the x-axis, you have to memorize 1, 0, 0, minus 1, right? Here's what you have to do. Take this matrix, which hopefully you will remember, write it down. So the value is 1, 0, 0, minus 1. And you are going to take this matrix and multiply it by each point separately. It's a lot of work. So let's start off with point A. Point A is 4, 2. That's the coordinates. The x coordinate is 4. The y coordinate is what? 2. So you put a small bracket here now. Remember, the small brackets will have a value on top and a value underneath. The x value goes on top. The y value goes underneath. You think you all can multiply this out for me? Remember, a lot of you were asking for more practice. Get the 2 answers for me. Right? Let the 2 swing up to the top and whatnot. Work it out and just don't show yourself that you can actually get the 2 values using mathematical calculations. All right, so get started. I'll give you a few seconds, right? So remember the procedure, right? You're looking at the smaller brackets, looking at the underneath number 2. He swings up to the top. So the 4 and the 2 walk across. The 4 goes here, the 2 goes here. They get photocopied underneath, the 4 and the 2. Multiply each pair. Multiply, that was the instructions. I know it's getting a little clustered there, so let me change the color. 4 multiplied by 1 is 4. 2 multiplied by 0 is 0. 0 multiplied by 4 is 0. Minus 2 multiplied by 2 is minus 2. To get the answer on top, we have to add the 2 values on top. 4 plus 0 is 4. 0 plus minus 2. Remember, a plus and a minus, when they touch, will give you a minus. So 0 minus 2 is minus 2. Wasn't that the same answer we got when we used common sense? The top answer is the x coordinate. The underneath answer is the y coordinate. So let's plot that. 4 minus 2. Make sure and put the values in the exam. You have to put the values next to the pointer, right? All right, so. All right, so remember, guys, Kavita, this is maths class, POA 6 o'clock today. All right, so here's what you have to do for the examiner now, unfortunately. You see how we take this, oops, what's that? This one. You see how we took this matrix, the reflection in the x-axis? You have to repeat this process for all the points. So now you have to take 1, 0, 0, minus 1 and multiply it by point B. What is point B? 8, 2. And you have to do that for point C as well. Now I want you all to get the practice, right? So let the 2 swing up to the top and do the same thing for point C. 1, 0, 0, minus 1. And you multiply by point C, which is 8, 8. And you will notice that you will get the same answers as if we had used common sense. Right, I'll give you a few minutes, about 2 minutes to finish that. So, right, so for the second one for point B, when you multiply this, you get an 8 and minus 2, right? And for this brackets here, for this multiplication, when we multiply it out, we get an 8 minus 8. And you all notice that the The x coordinates are staying the same, but the y coordinates are becoming what? The opposite. The x coordinates are staying the same, and the y coordinates are becoming the opposite. Right? All right, guys, so let's move on to our next type of transformation. We covered one so far, how to reflect something in the x-axis, and you know two methods to get it out. You could use common sense, or you could use calculations. Right, the common sense way is the shorter way. For calculations wise, this is the shortest and only method that I know of, to be honest with you. So let's move on to the next example. Oh, yeah, we'll continue the story here, sorry. All right, so here you have a question to try on your own, right? I want you to take this triangle here now and reflect it in the x-axis. You can use any method you wish, right? You could use the common sense method, or you could do what? The matrices calculation method. But I know which one you're going to choose already. You do not need to draw the graph, just send your answers on the chat, right? Let's make sure you have point A correct. Now, point A is minus 12 minus 2. Now, if we use the common sense method, if we pretend the horizontal line is the mirror, this point is one block away from the mirror. So on the other side, he will also be one block away. So this will become A prime, and it's becoming what? Minus 12. Look at it. It's minus 12, and the y value is positive 2. Notice once again, the x coordinate remained the same. It remained as minus 12, but the y coordinate became the opposite. He went from minus 2 to positive 2. So we know we're on the right track. For the b coordinate, he is one block below the mirror. So on the other side, he will be one block above. So he will be here. That's b prime. And look at the coordinates, minus 2, positive 2. X coordinate remained the same. Y coordinates became the opposite. For point C, how far is he from the mirror? 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means on the other side, he is what? 1, 2, 3, 4. What's the coordinates of that point? That looks like minus 4, positive 8. Once again, the x value remained the same, minus 4. But that y coordinate became the opposite. It went from minus 8 to positive 8. And if we connect these little points here, you will see that using a little bit of imagination, that's a reflection in the x-axis, because this horizontal line was the mirror, the pretend mirror. Right. So even if you got it wrong, I don't think anybody got it wrong from looking at the answers, right? But if you did, look at the solution, see where you could have gone wrong, and make a mental note of it. Yeah. All right. On the list. All right, so we wait till about 11:30, just like the skeleton said. We're gonna go into the house, All right, so here's this. You all just learned how to reflect something in the x-axis. Well, reflecting something in the y-axis isn't going to be that more difficult because the y-axis, the vertical line, we're going to pretend that that's the mirror. So anything on this side is going to be reflected and end up on the other side. Okay? But take down this note first. You all notice it's the opposite. When you are reflecting something in the x-axis, the y-coordinate becomes the opposite. But if you are reflecting something in the y-axis, the instructions are going to be the opposite. The x-coordinate is going to change or become the opposite, but the y-coordinate is going to remain the same. I want you all to get the answers for A prime, B prime, and C prime, right? And send the answers on the chat, right? If you get it wrong, you get it wrong. Just try your best, okay? And of course, we have to match it up to the green note. So if we are reflecting this in the y-axis, he is 1, 2 from the mirror. He will be how much on the other side? 1, 2. So he's going to end up here. This is how much? 2, 1. 2 on the x, 1 on the y. Look at it. The x coordinate became the opposite, but the y coordinate remained the same. For point B, 1, 2. On the other side, he's going to be 1, 2. So his point is going to be 2, 6. Notice the green note is correct again. And for point C, he's how much? 1, 2, 3, 4. On the other side, he's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. He's going to end up here. Let's see if it's correct. That looks like 4, 2. Once again, the x coordinate became the opposite, but the y coordinate remained the same. All right. For those who got it wrong, right? At least let me know, hey, you saw your mistake, right? Like you could have reasoned out where you went wrong, right? A question like this is worth about, to be honest, about 3 marks in the exam. 3 easy marks, right? I mean, I find that's a good deal. I did. All right, look, I have it here. I didn't set you all up. If the examiner now tells you that you have to use the, how you call it, the calculation method, you have to use this formula, -1, 0, 0, 1. Like I said before, you all notice how similar that formula looks to the previous one, the reflection in the x-axis. The -1 is just in a different position. So how would you do this question? You're going to take the formula, if you have to do it by calculations. Let me get a different color. I think that's a horrible color that I just picked there. Right? Use white. The formula is -1, 0, 0, +1. And you're going to take this matrix and multiply it by each point 1 by 1. Let's start off with point A. Point A is -2, 1. So you have to write it vertical like this. -2, the x coordinate goes on top, the y coordinate goes underneath. Quickly multiply this out and verify through calculations and prove it to yourself that you got the common sense answer. Right? Right, so for those who are a little rusty, remember the 1 swings up to the top. The -2 and the 1, they walk across, and you photocopy them underneath as well. And you multiply each pair. right? So Nadia, you said you got the same answers. That is good, that is good. -2 multiplied by -1 is +2. That's a horrible color there. I run out of colors to choose from. It's +2. 1 by 0 is 0. 0 multiplied by -2 is 0. 1 by 1 is 1. 2 plus 0 is 2. 0 plus 1 is 1. Isn't that the same answer we had gotten before? Point A had ended up by 2, 1, +2, +1. 2, 1. All right. Now, I'm not going to make you do all the points, right? I think you're pretty much, it would just get too repetitive. So what you have to do afterwards, right? I'm just giving you the procedure. You would have to take the same matrix now and then multiply it by what? Point B. And point B is how much, right? -2, 6. Look it over here. And if we were to multiply this out, we will get +2, +6. I guarantee you that. All right. So everyone just take a 20 seconds, take down what they need to take down. And of course, we'll be moving on to something a little bit more difficult. Let's move on to the next question here. Right? It will do you good to remember the names of the ghosts, right? They have a very important part in the story later on. All right, so here's another question, right? This one here, they ask you to reflect the line, reflect the shape in the line x is equal to -1. This is a very popular type of question in the exam, okay? This question is different from the other questions. Remember in the last set of questions, we were asked to reflect it in the x-axis or reflect it in the y-axis. This line here is the y-axis. And of course, this line here, horizontal line, is the x-axis. But you notice how slightly different this question is. In this question, we are not pretending the x-axis is the mirror, nor are we pretending the y-axis is the mirror. How much of you all agree that this red line is the line x equal to -1? Did I draw that correct? Remember at the beginning of class, I had mentioned some special graphs. Is x equal to -1 a vertical line or a horizontal line? Look back in the notes, look back in the notes. So I have it correct, right? So if they ask you to draw, but I already drew in the line for you, a lot of the time the examiner will not draw in the red line for you. So if they ask you to reflect something, the line x equal to -1, it's your job to draw a vertical line going through -1 on the x-axis. That is your job. And you are going to focus on that red line. The red line is the mirror. Not this line and not this line. So how does a mirror work? We're going to use the common sense method for this one. Let's start with point B. Point B is how much from the mirror? How much blocks? 1, 2. So that means on the other side of the mirror, he will be 1, 2. I will do back that one just now. B dash. So he will be how much? 1, 5. Let's do that back for those who are a little confused. According to the question, we have to pretend the red line is the mirror. And point B is how much big blocks from the mirror? 1, 2. So that means on the other side of the mirror, it will be 1, 2, which means B prime is 1, 5. You think you all could do C for me? You don't have to draw the diagram. Reason out from the screen the values of C prime. Let's see if you all can reason that out. Right, seeing plenty correct answers coming up. Good as good. All right. So point C, number, the red line is the mirror. Here's how much? 1, 2. So on the other side, he's going to be what? 1, 2. So C prime is going to be 1, 1. Look at it. 1, 1. I noticed some people, let me explain something, right? For point C, let me explain what some people did wrong. I'm just going to write, let me write over here. Some people sent this answer for C prime, 3, 1. And let me explain why that answer is wrong. Some of you all just remember the green or yellow notes that the x value is supposed to become the opposite and the y value is supposed to become the same. But that is if you are reflecting something in the y-axis. This is a totally different scenario, okay? This is a reflection in the line x equals to minus 1, okay? You think you all could do A for me? You think you all could get A prime for me? Plenty people are saying 6, 5 or 5, 5. Somebody wrong, somebody wrong. Okay, let's see how far A is from the mirror. How much blocks? We're starting from A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We are 6 blocks from the mirror. You can count it. So that means on the other side, starting here now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A prime ends up here. How much is that? 5, 5. So for the people who got 5, 5, you all had it correct. It wasn't 6, 5. It wasn't 6, 5. You count wrong a little bit, but that's okay. You think y'all gonna do D for me now? Y'all get any hang of this? Y'all really get any hang of this? It's good to see. A lot of people are saying 3, 1, and some people are saying 3, 2. We're going to see who's correct just now. Right? You'll need to put your finger on the screen and kind of move your finger and count the blocks, right? That would be the best way. All right, so let's see who's correct. We start in here, right? Point D. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 from the mirror. So counting from the mirror now. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all. The answer is actually 3, 1, not 3, 2. No, yeah, 3, 1. For those who got it wrong, you understand the mistake? It's keeping the same height as we go. So if we connect all of these blocks here, that is a reflection on this line. And in line x equals to minus 1. All right. Take a 20 seconds, take down whatever you need to take down, right? But I don't think you need to take down much. You just need to reason out what mistake you made. Right, so I'll give you some time to reason it out. All right. Now, you see, whenever they ask you to reflect it in a special line, you'll notice this is a special line. It's not the y-axis and it's not the x-axis. There is no calculation method for it when it comes to CXC. So just to clarify, because somebody is going to ask, so let me jump the gun. Whenever they ask you to reflect it in one of these special lines, only the common sense method, the one we just did, is required. Everyone is okay with that? That whenever it's a special line and it's not the x-axis or y-axis, you only have to use the common sense method. There is a calculation method, and believe me, there is a calculation method, but CXC doesn't require you to know it. And it's really, really complex. And I will not teach you that because it's not going to come for the exam. And of course, Luke, I'm going to answer that question now, right? So let's move on to the next question. Try this question here. Read the instructions and see if you can get the answers for A dash, B dash, and C. All right, so a lot of correct answers coming up. Let's see if it's let's see if you're correct. First of all, there's no calculation method for this one because it's one of those special lines that's not the X or Y axis. So we have to kind of use common sense to get out this one. So the line y equals to -2, as explained at the beginning of class, is a horizontal line going through -2 on the y-axis. So that red line, you're going to pretend it's the mirror. Let's start with point A. Point A is 3 minus 4. How far is he from the mirror? 1, 2. So that means on the other side of the mirror, he will be 1, 2. He will end up here. So to me, that seems like the point what? 3, 0, because it's on the x-axis. Let's see what's going on with point B. I should put the A prime, sorry. How far is he from the mirror? 1, 2. So on the other side, he will be 1, 2. That looks like the point 10, 0. 10 on the x and 0 on the y. And let's see what's going on with point C. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means on the other side of the mirror, he has to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So that looks like the point 10, 2. And if we connect this up, oh, it's kind of hard here. We will get this shape here. Right? There is no calculation method for this question. Only common sense will be required for CXC. All right. So when you actually go to the school website, it's a very, very, very simple website. What I need for you all to do, the summer recorded classes, you're seeing that link, you're seeing it on the screen, right? They just keep me updated of you're seeing everything. Right. When you click on summer recorded classes, which is the summer program we're doing now, let me click on it. By tomorrow, the Monday class, you all will see a link next to it. The homework is this, and listen to the instructions properly. You need to review that recording. You need to go back through everything that went on in class today from beginning to end. I need you to make proper notes. This is where you're going to use your graph paper and draw it up and make super good notes. That's the only way this is going to stick in your head, because I'm sure some of you didn't grasp everything. But if you watch back that video and make proper notes, it's going to make sense. Okay? Everyone okay with that? Great. Right? And now I know some of you all had some problems with positive and negative numbers and whatnot. So listen to these instructions now. In addition to reviewing today's recording, I need for you all to go into the maths classroom. Look at this button here, maths classroom. You just need to click on maths classroom. And when you click on the maths classroom, scroll down a little bit and you will see lesson 1. So inside the maths classroom, you are focusing on lesson 1. Click on lesson 1 and you will see a whole set of videos. I do not need you to look at all of the videos in lesson 1 for the time being. You are to watch from video 1 all the way to video 7. That will help you understand the basics in algebra, positive and negative numbers, clear up any little small issues you have with algebra at the end of the day. All right? And I'm going to show you a summary of the homework here. So for those of you all who want to take a screenshot of the homework, take a screenshot of the homework so you don't forget everything that I just said. And I will send back the links just now. Let me just finish this little small, little explanation. I will send back the links to everyone. Screenshot it. Make sure you understand what the homework is. I know some of you are asking me to make a chat group. I will not be doing that. This is my preference of how to communicate with you all. And this is the method I am sticking with. All right, I worked really hard on this. Let me use it. When you finish making this screenshot and you understand the homework, just say understood and you're free to leave. I'm going to explain the homework a second time for those who did not get it, but for those who understood, just type understood and you're free to leave. Right. Homework is mandatory, and guys, I will test you on videos 1 to 7. There's a mandatory test on it. Right. And when you watch the videos, you're obviously going to make notes. All right.